Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Patty's Potent Potion by Robin Alexander. Narrated by Lori Prince. Prologue, 1992. Write the name of the person you want to fall madly in love with you on a piece of paper, Patty Lejeune said, and emptied a jar of pens onto her kitchen table. Do it in ink because it needs to bleed into the potion. Fold it up and don't show it to anyone, or the love spell won't work. It's kind of like when you make a birthday wish. You're not supposed to tell what you wish for. Shawna, why are you on the floor? Something in the potion is burning my eyes. Shawna Haydel lied, hoping Patty wouldn't demand she join the others at the table. At 16, she really didn't believe in magic or potions, but she was ready to try just about anything to have her heart's desire. Her hand was shaking so much that she could barely make the name legible as she wrote it on the slip of paper, then folded it into a tiny square that she felt would be easy to swallow if she had to. If her friends found out who she'd been obsessing over, Shawna knew she'd be kicked out of the group and ridiculed for the rest of her life because, unlike her friends, her heart didn't belong to a boy. Shawna's obsession was sitting at the table a few feet away, toying with a lock of her long dark hair. She watched Ashton Guidry chew the top of her ink pen, while she contemplated the slip of paper on the table in front of her. Shawna wondered what name Ashton would write, wishing it was hers. Shawna felt as though her heart had stopped beating when Ashton glanced at her with a warm smile. That shit stings, and your mother is going to be pissed that you used all her spices, Cassie Gilroy said as Patty poured nearly a whole container of salt into the brew. Patty shrugged. She doesn't cook. Dad was the only one that used them, and he ain't here anymore. Is she coming home tonight? Ashton asked. I don't know, Patty said distractedly as she opened the lid to the jar of cumin and poured it into the large pot on the stove. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. She poked Ashton in the shoulder with a wooden spoon. Write a name, the brew's almost ready. Don't get that shit on me, Ashton said, and brushed at the sleeve of her t-shirt. Don't pick Troy Scauffield, he's mine. Cassie rested her chin in her hand. He doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna marry me. You wish, Patty snapped. He's a dog anyway. Ash, you're not gonna pick that shithead too, are you? I don't like him that way, Ashton said as she moved to another chair and cupped her hand around her slip of paper. Don't anybody try to peek. Cassie laughed. We all know who you're gonna pick. It's Chad Wimberly. Wrong. Ashton scribbled on the paper and quickly folded it. Patty likes Troy, so you better pick another name. No fucking way, Patty retorted. You two should have gone to the fall dance last night, Cassie said to Ashton and Shawna. Y'all missed Patty telling Amy Parker where to get off. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all about that, Patty exclaimed and waved her spoon around. That bitch had the nerve to tell Troy his pants were too short. So I said, yeah, he's got on some high waters, but he can change his pants. What are you going to do about your face? I had to step in because Troy's stupid girlfriend just stood there with her mouth hanging open. I would have slapped Amy down, but Shawna's grandma was circling us like a damn buzzard. Why don't you go to the dances? Cassie asked Ashton. I know a bunch of guys asked you to go with them. I had things to do, Ashton said with a shrug. Patty laughed. Ash wouldn't be caught dead in a dress. That's why she didn't go. Nobody asked Shawna why she didn't attend. They already knew no one had asked her. To show up at a McLean Marsh school dance without a date was the same as having loser stamped on a person's forehead. No one did it, not even the kids who had no chance of being popular. So, what'd you do? Patty asked Ashton, and sneered. Let me guess. You went to Shawna's house, swam in her pool, and ate pizza. Yeah, and we had a better fucking time than y'all did. Ashton glanced at Shawna. Right? Shawna smiled and nodded. I wouldn't go either if my grandma was the principal, Cassie said with an acerbic smile. Shawna, your grandma is like a prison warden. You know everyone thinks you're a narc. Hey, Ashton said in a warning tone. Shawna doesn't tell her grandma anything. Leave her alone. It's time, Patty announced. Everyone bring their name and throw it in the pot. Then you have to spit in it. Why are we spitting? Ashton asked as she stood. There has to be a part of us in the potion. You can cut some of your hair off if you want, Patty said, as Cassie wasted no time tossing her name into the pot and spat into it. Spit is good with me. Ashton stepped up to the stove, tossed her name into the potion, and laughed as she tried to spit directly onto the paper. Hurry up, Shawna, Patty said impatiently and swatted Ashton with her spoon. That's enough spit, Ash, damn. Shawna stood, and as she took the few steps to the stove, her mind raced with terrifying thoughts. What if the ink didn't bleed off the paper? What if the paper opened and everyone saw Ashton's name? Did she have the guts to reach into the boiling mixture if that happened? Shawna, Patty bellowed. Throw your name in the pot tonight, gah! The little square of paper tumbled out of Shawna's grasp, and she watched it fall into the boiling cauldron. It unfolded slightly, and she panicked. She snatched the spoon from Patty's hand and smacked the paper, splattering the stove with the smelly brew. Patty looked at the mess and scowled at Shawna. Spit, she said between clenched teeth. Shawna spat into the brew, but remained at the pot watching the paper and praying that the ink had already bled off of it. Move, Shawna! Patty gave her a nudge. She dropped her own slip of paper into the potion and spat into it. Is that it? Cassie asked. I want a burger. You're going to have to wait because I have to say the spell. Patty cleared her throat. We cast our names into the fire. We threw them in a pot, Ashton interjected. Shut up, Patty said over her shoulder and rolled her eyes before continuing. In this brew, we hope our wishes come true. Give us our heart's desire, Shawna added, wanting to be helpful. Patty nodded and stirred the potion feverishly. Yeah, that's a good one. Give us our heart's desire. We ask this shit boiling on the fire. Make our dreams come true. We implore you, Shawna whispered. Patty gazed at Shawna for a moment. Why don't you just do this? Yeah, straight-A student. Cassie gave Shawna a little shove. Ashton shoved Cassie. Don't be jealous because she's the only one that's got a brain. Shawna swallowed hard, while everyone stared at her expecting something brilliant. Make our dreams come true. We implore you. Grant us our soulmates. With this wish, we seal our fates. Bring them soon. We cannot wait. Shawna nodded and said, I think that's it. Good. Patty slammed a lid on the pot and turned the fire off beneath it. Hey, y'all want to go steal some of the Faber's pumpkins? They got like 80, and I don't think they'll notice if we take a few. Let's get burgers first, Cassie said, as she, Ashton, and Patty walked out of the kitchen. Shawna lifted the lid and stirred the potion frantically, searching for the slips of paper in hopes she could dip hers out. Ashton walked back into the kitchen before Shawna could find even one and said, You better not be trying to see our names. I don't want anybody to see mine. That's why I'm trying to get it out, Shawna whispered. That's why I came back in here, Ashton admitted just as softly. She grabbed a strainer spoon out of the drawer and fished in the pot beside Shawna. You can bet Patty is going to try to see who we wrote when she throws this shit out. Got one! Get a fork! Shawna began to sweat and feel nauseated as she used a fork to unfold the paper with no luck. Finally, she grabbed it with her fingers and opened it. The ink was bleeding, but Troy Schofield's name was still visible. Troy, Shawna said with an explosive breath. Get another one. Hurry. Ashton scooped another paper out of the pot, and Shawna grabbed it with the fork. She unfolded the paper, heedless of the hot water dripping off it. Troy. Shit, Ashton said as she glanced at the doorway and fished another one out. If it's mine, swear you won't tell Patty what I wrote. I promise. Shawna unfolded the paper slightly and nearly cried with relief. You wrote nobody? Uh-huh. Ashton plucked the soggy paper from Shawna's hand and stuffed it into her pocket. Let's get yours. Shawna grabbed the paper with a fork and wadded it into a wet ball before she stuck it into her pocket. You don't like anybody? Nope. Who did you pick? Shawna laughed nervously. I'm not telling. Not even me? Ashton asked, looking a bit hurt. It won't come true if I do. Ashton rolled her eyes. Oh my God! You picked Troy! Chapter 1. Shawna nearly jumped out of her chair when she heard her front door slam, followed by unintelligible yelling. She dashed into the foyer and found a book sack thrown in the middle of the floor and followed the sound of banging into her kitchen. Her 16-year-old daughter was slumped over the table, pounding her fist on it. What is it? Shawna asked frantically. Are you hurt? Did you wreck the car? Jet sat straight up, brushed her auburn hair from her face, and narrowed her brown eyes. I am quitting color guard. Her voice rose with each word. New teacher sponsor, mean, yelled, so mean. Shawna breathed out a sigh of relief and went to the refrigerator for the calming elixir. Chocolate milk, coming up. Some of the other girls say they're quitting too. Melody got so freaked out by that woman, she puked. And there were like little pieces of oranges all over the practice field. Mrs. Wickham is my favorite teacher, and she didn't care if we brought our phones to practice. This woman is new to the school. She just started yesterday. She doesn't know anything about color guard. She said that. What happened to Mrs. Wickham? Shawna asked as she poured the milk. She kind of lost it when her husband came by her practice the other day to drop off something. She chased him to his car with a parade rifle. They're getting a divorce because he cheated on her. She has to take some time off to get her head straight. So they stuck us with Ms. Ashhole, and she's rude. Shawna set a glass in front of Jet. Are you calling her Ms. Asshole? No, Ashhole. That's her name. Mom, I have to quit. I can't deal with anyone yelling at me. Did you tell the new teacher you were quitting? Shawna asked as she took a seat. No, but I'm gonna. She totally went off on me, and I didn't even know who she was because I wasn't there when Mrs. Wickham told everyone Ashhole was taking her place. I'm always late to practice, and Mrs. Wickham never cared because she knows I give Haley a ride home. Ms. Ashhole told me if I wasn't there at 10 till, I was late, and she has a 3-strike rule. I've already got 1 strike. Why can't Haley ride the bus home? Shawna asked. She doesn't like it. Jet took a drink of her milk and shook her head. Being late won't be a problem. I'm quitting. Shawna wanted to point out that she just spent a lot of money on uniforms, gear bags, and a whole host of fees. She decided to allow Jet to cool down for a few minutes before she informed her she wasn't quitting anything. You know, sometimes we get the wrong first impression. It's human nature to resist change that we're not making, and I'm still hung up on the name. Did she introduce herself as Ms. Ashhole? Gemma told me that was her name. Jet shrugged. I guess she's Italian. She has dark hair. I was late, so I missed the speech she made, but everyone said she was, like, hostile. We can't have our phones at practice, we can't eat while we're on the field, and we have to be in our practice uniforms. Plus, we have to practice every day, even if the band isn't. Oh, and she wants us to call her coach, like we're on the football team or something. I'm just glad I don't have her for biology, too, like Melody does. Shawna didn't think any of that was unreasonable. What were y'all doing with your phones at practice? Texting? Taking pictures? Jet looked at Shawna as though she was crazy. While you're supposed to be dancing and twirling a flag? Jet shrugged. Mrs. Wickham didn't care. What did the new teacher say when she yelled at you? Shawna asked and took a drink of her milk. She said, Hey, are you on this team? I said, Yes, ma'am. Then she said, Put your phone down and get over here. Like she was really pissed off. Haley heard the whole thing because she just called to tell me she left her book bag in my car. She said, Get over here. That means you weren't near her. She probably had to raise her voice to get your attention, especially since you were on your phone at practice. Quite frankly, I wouldn't blame her if she really had yelled at you. Jet downed her milk and frowned. You weren't there. You don't know what happened. You're telling me what happened, and it doesn't make you look good. Tomorrow, get to practice on time and leave your phone in the car. I'm not going to practice. I quit, Jet said, daring to hold Shawna's gaze. No, you're not, Shawna said firmly and held up a finger when Jet's mouth flew open. I know you remember the agreement you made with Meg and me. We told you if you joined this team and we shelled out the money for everything you needed, you were going to stick it out even if you didn't like it. You agreed to that. Matter of fact, you promised, and I expect you to keep your word. Mom! I wanted to be on the team when I thought Mrs. Wickham was going to be our sponsor. Everything's changed. Jet jumped to her feet. Shawna shook her head. Not really. There's still a color guard team, and you're part of it, new sponsor or not. I'll get a job and pay you and Mom Meg back for the stuff. No, and we're not going to bargain on this. Again, be at practice on time and do what you're supposed to, Shawna said, then watched Jet storm out of the kitchen. Ashhole, you've only been at school one day and you're already pissing off kids and making them puke, Patty Schofield said with a laugh as she helped Ashton Guidry paint her living room wall. Don't you feel ashamed of yourself? Not in the least. I know very little about color guard, but I do know that the girls weren't supposed to be using their flags to lie on while they texted and ate snacks. Wickham admitted to me that she'd completely lost control of them, so I shook them up. Stop calling me Ashhole, Pat. Was Gemma mad too? Ashton asked. She's not happy you came in and set a bunch of rules. She already knows you, though, Ash, and she thinks you're cool. I have to tell you, when she came home this afternoon and told me that you were the new teacher sponsor, my jaw hit the floor and I laughed my head off. What were you thinking? It wasn't my idea, Ashton said dourly. I'd barely walked into the building today, and I was summoned to the principal's office. Chuck Bowman told me they needed someone to sponsor, or coach, rather, temporarily. I flat out told him I didn't know anything about color guard, and he begged me. Apparently, the other teachers turned him down, and I wanted to show him I could be a team player. I'm sure you scored points with the boss, but do you even know what the girls are supposed to be doing? Patty asked and dipped her roller. Bowman assured me the choreographer would come to a few practices and make sure the girls know the routines. My job is to make them practice until they can do them in their sleep. I have a digital routine on my iPad, so I can compare what they do to it, and I'll know if they're off their marks. Ashton sighed. Hopefully, I can keep it all together until Wickham comes back. Bowman thinks that she'll be ready to take over in about a month. Hey, is Jet Shawna Haydel's daughter? Nope. Shane moved away a long time ago. Jet is Shawna's baby. Isn't she adorable? Ashton nearly dropped her paint roller and exclaimed, You didn't tell me Shawna had a kid. I thought I told you that when I told you she moved back to town. Patty narrowed her eyes. I think I did. No, you didn't. You went on about how gorgeous but stuck up Shawna is now. You never mentioned she had a daughter. Patty shrugged. Okay, well, Shawna has a daughter. She goes by Jet, but her real name is Alicia. Gemma tells me that Jet is a little standoffish like her mother. She tried to talk to Jet one day and asked about her parents. You know, making small talk. Jet answered questions about Shawna, but when Gemma asked about her dad, Jet shut it down. Here's something else I didn't tell you, but I just found this out a week ago from Shawna's Uncle Dale. He owns that repair shop on Juniper, very fair and honest if you ever have issues with your car. Anyway, he told me that Shawna's dad hooked her up big time. You know, Will owns the 2 major gas stations in town, or he did. He gave one to Shawna. Baby girl is set for life. Sweet deal, Ashton said with a nod. Ash, I can't wait for you to see her. You're gonna flip. The first time I saw her in the grocery store when she moved back here, I didn't recognize her. She looked familiar, but I couldn't figure out who she was, and she walked right up to me and said, hello. I was like, hey, I know your face, and she said, I'm Shawna. She doesn't sound stuck up if she walked over and spoke to you. No, but when we had the parent meeting for color guard, she sat away from everyone. She smiled at me, but she didn't say hello, and she was out the door before the meeting was over. Patty shrugged. I really don't think she wants to have anything to do with me. Maybe she had somewhere she needed to be, Ashton said with a shrug. Patty smiled. You always made excuses for her. No, I didn't. I just spoke up for her. She was just so damn shy, and that's probably why she kept to herself at that meeting. Baby girl grew into a good-looking woman. Do you remember how she looked like a skeleton with clothes on it? And when she opened her mouth, all you could see were braces? Her crazy red hair was the biggest thing on her body. Yeah, she was ugly as a loud fart on a church pew. Ashton stopped painting and glared at Patty. I was going to say skinny. She wasn't ugly. What's so different about her now? For starters, she doesn't look like a walking broomstick. She actually has some nice curves. She cut her hair, too. It's long, but it's not down her back like it used to be. It's not orange-red anymore, either. I'd describe her as a strawberry blonde. She's got great skin. I don't know what else to tell you. She's pretty. I've always wanted to ask Shawna if I did something to offend her, Ashton said as she resumed painting. Everything was fine when I left for college, but I called her one weekend and she sounded strange. We only talked for a minute or two, and she said she had to go, but she'd call me back, and she never did. I called again a week later, and her mother told me she'd gone to school in New Orleans. She gave me Shawna's number, but she never answered when I called. Ashton glanced at Patty. Did she ever say anything to you about me? If she had, I would have told you. She left for school not long after you did, and she didn't even say goodbye to me and Cassie. She wouldn't have told me if anything was wrong anyway. You were the only one she really talked to. Ashton smiled. You and Cassie talked enough for all of us. I couldn't even get a word in edgewise most days. We had some good times, though. Do you still smoke pot? Patty asked with a mischievous grin. Not since I started teaching. Biology, nonetheless. You're such a nerd now. Do you still smoke it? No, Patty said with a labored sigh. Being married to the chief of police tends to put a damper on my fun. Gemma and Carter hear too much about my old days from friends whose parents went to school with us. I have to work hard to live down my old rep. Ashton laughed. You have a whole lot to live down. Shut it, Ashhole. What kind of name is Ashhole? Megan Seeley asked later that evening when Shawna answered her phone. I have no idea. Shawna turned away from her computer screen. I told Jet that I agreed with everything you said. She's not quitting that team. She's been really moody lately. What's going on with her? Last week, she came into my office 3 nights in a row after midnight and said she couldn't sleep. She told me she was tossing and turning, so I bought her a new mattress because hers is pretty old. Then I found out yesterday that she and her buddies have been chewing on chocolate-covered coffee beans. I told her that was the problem. I don't think she had any today because she was in bed by 8 tonight. I've already checked on her a few times, and she's sleeping like the dead. Hopefully Normal Jet will be back tomorrow, Shawna said with a laugh. I'd love to have some of those magic beans. I could probably work all night. Megan chuckled. Okay, that mystery is solved. I want you to go to one of Jet's practices and watch what goes on. Shawna grimaced. I knew you were going to say that. Well, I would happily do it, Shawna, but our daughter is ashamed that she has 2 mothers. She doesn't want anyone to meet me. Shawna's heart broke for Megan, and she reiterated what she had said many times. It's not shame, it's fear. I think that will change once she gets comfortable at her new school. I hope so, Megan said somberly. I don't know if I can hide in the shadows for 2 years until she graduates. I know you have your issues with it too, because you didn't want to move back to McGlynn Marsh. I hope Jet looks back on this and really appreciates what we did for her. She does now, Meg. She gave me permission to go to the first football game after I told her that I'd make sure my gay ass blends in with the crowd. If you see me, don't wave. Seriously, don't do it because Lacey will be with me, Megan said with a laugh. She still doesn't understand our friendship, but I think she'll feel better about it once you start seeing someone. How's that going? Oh, haha, yeah, it's going great. My only prospect as of late is the wino that hangs out behind the gas station. He's asked me out twice. Do you have any idea how hard it is to meet women in this town when you work from home and can't tell anyone you're a lesbian? You need to keep reminding Lacey we broke up 2 years ago. If it'll make her feel better, the next time I see you, I'll shoot you with pepper spray. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make her feel more comfortable. I don't really like that idea, but if you're that committed, how about you let me spray you? Megan asked with a laugh. I'm rethinking my dedication now. Go to Jet's practice tomorrow and get the scoop on that coach, Megan said with a yawn. Still rethinking the dedication. I'll buy you a box of pralines from your favorite bakery. Shawna groaned. Oh, please don't. That's the problem with working at home. Food is always accessible. I've gained 5 pounds since we moved here last summer. I'll go meet this scary mean coach. Chapter 2. Mom? In here, baby, Lou Haydel replied. I'm trying to work something out of the garbage disposal. Shawna strode into her mother's kitchen and rolled up her sleeves. You did remember to cut the power to it, didn't I? Love your hair. You do? Lou asked and ruffled her new pixie cut. I went in for a color because I'm tired of the gray and looking old. Rhonda suggested this hairstyle. What do you think about the color? Is it too dark? I thought chestnut brown might be close to what I had naturally many years ago. Shawna smiled. I love it, Mom. I think it's very close to your natural color, and it makes your hazel eyes stand out more. What does Dad think? Well, he says I look 20 years younger. Mama says I look like a cricket, Lou said with a frown and went back to work on the disposal. I ran in here and flipped off the switch when I heard it shaking the whole kitchen counter. I swear I thought it was an earthquake for a second. Mom was just standing here as though she didn't hear a thing. There's no telling what that titanium terror put down this sink, Lou said with a grunt as she poked at something with a broom handle. She stepped out of the way and handed Shawna a flashlight. Look down in there with your sharp eyes and see if you can find out what it is. Shawna switched on the light and pulled back the rubber gasket. There's so much food I can't see the grinders, she said, and frowned as she started digging it out with her hand. I know she put something in there, and it wasn't just her breakfast. Normally, she's a horse's ass, but she has been as cantankerous as a donkey with a butt full of briars lately. Lou grinned. I found a new way to shut her up, though. You know how she hates the mention of anything sexual, aside from calling you homosexual? Well, I have realized if I just throw out a word, she'll flinch, and for a second it'll shut her up because her brain seems to short-circuit. If I do it enough, she'll leave the room. There's something hard in here, Shawna said as she felt around. At least you didn't turn the water on like you're supposed to. It feels like... She pulled the rubber flap back again and peered inside with the light. It's a prescription bottle, and I have no idea how that could get stuck in the grinders. Lou plucked a piece of wood from the windowsill above the sink. I used this to press food down into the disposal. Ah, I'll bet she used that then, Shawna said as she took the broom from her mother. There's a lip on the blade, and I'm going to try to pry it open. I've raised my kids and worked most of my life in an office with your father, and both took the patience of a saint. I finally retire and foolishly think I'm going to be able to do what I want to. Then my mother comes to live with me. She won't listen to a thing the doctor or I tell her, yet I'm supposed to take care of her. It's free. Shawna handed her mother the mangled bottle. Lou exhaled loudly. These are, or were, her antidepressants. The doctor prescribed them for me and Mama both to keep from killing each other. Louise!
Sample complete. Ready to continue?